And we are live Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. We are officially 24 days from kickoff. But more importantly, I just want to let everybody know that we are also like a month off from Splatoon 3. I'm just letting y'all know that on Twitter. You're about to get a lot of Splatoon memes. I'm just saying. The Woomy is about to increase, but that's for another day. But I am going to throw the memes in there. But let's start tonight. I am joined yet again for the second week in a row by my wonderful co-hosts, Swiggy, Gavin, and my buddy Justin. Men, how are you doing tonight? How is life treating you this past week? We doing well?
Doing all right, I would say, pretty much, other than going to church Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays.
Woo, man, you got a loaded schedule. Swiggy, what about you, buddy? How is life treating you this past week?
Going well. Been working on just playing through all the Resident Evil games still and getting S+ on everything, which is fun.
Ooh, fun. Justin, my man, I see you got an awesome setup right now. How are you doing? I think you just came off from live streaming Assassin's Creed.
No, Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. You sent me AC. I'm like, Assassin's Creed, Animal Crossing. I mean, potatoes, Animal Crossing, Doom, Eternal. You know, same old. How did your stream go?
It went pretty good. I just ended it because I did some I don't know, happened to find a new resident. And I found one just pretty much right at the buzzers, like so I can get here on time.
Hey, it works out perfectly. I'm just saying too, guys. For those of you on my Splatoon kick, Team Rock is going to win. If you're not part of Team Rocky, we've got problems. So let's jump right into some football talk. I know we have a loaded schedule tonight. So, but like I started last week, we're going to start with the question of the day. I want to get Swiggy, Justin, and Gavin's input because, again, they don't know this question going into the live stream. This is completely random. I'm going to throw anything and everything at them. So, gentlemen, the question of the day is, I have to look at my note now because I actually just completely forgot it. See, this is what happens when you have like video games on the brain. All of a sudden you forget like what you're supposed to be doing. 1 second, guys. It just actually exited out on me. So, let's see. There it is. All right. So the question of the day is, do you prefer attending sporting events, specifically since this is an OU football vlog, the football games, or in person at home? And why? So for Justin, this would be for Memphis. But let's start with Justin. Last week we started with Swiggy, I believe. Justin, we're going to start with you tonight. Where do you prefer attending sports in person, or do you like watching them at home? There is pros and cons to both.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to both. For me personally, I personally rather watch from home, so I had to deal with the traffic or anything. But every once in a while, I like going to the game because it's a really unique experience. So even though I'm not much of a big crowd person, every once in a while I like to attend sports games. Like this past weekend, I just did a road trip with my mom. We went to a St. Louis Cardinals game against the Yankees, and that was a lot of fun. So
nice. Did you?
Yeah.
Who did the Yankees play?
The Yankees. Well, the Cardinals play the Yankees.
Gotcha.
The Sunday game.
Oh, that was Saturday one. Hell no, when we're going to that Sunday game, it was hot as hell. Yeah, mom was like, no. We were leaving the hotel like 11 o'clock. It was scorching.
Hey, that Saturday game was still really fun though. So.
Yeah, it was 1-0, but it was great pitching on both sides, and like throw that all the window at Sunday's game because nobody knew how to pitch.
That sounds about right. You know, the Sunday games in general. But when you attend the game, though, what's the thing that makes you want to attend the games over and over again?
Say that again.
So when you want to attend a game, what makes you want to go attend the game, staying at home?
Well, every once in a while, you kind of want to be, you kind of want the experience, like kind of like enjoy like the atmosphere more than anything. So, like for baseball, especially, I love the atmosphere. I love interacting with some of the fans, sharing our same passion for the team. How even if it's they're root for the other team, we just share a passion for the sport. So I do like to have that experience every now and then.
I'm gonna remove that. I was trying to add that to the stream for later.
Rude.
Sorry, my bad. I saw my fact was not up. But yes, what about now the benefit of staying at home though? What would you prefer staying at home outside of the crowds? The crowds is kind of the universal in the parking.
Well, that's the major factor more than anything. And that, and if they lost and I'm upset, I could just go to bed. I don't have to like stir it in a car sitting at traffic.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Or if you're like Swiggy and Gavin and I, if you have a game like OU Army a couple years ago where you're stewing driving home after a win and going, what the hell was that? So
yeah, you're probably stirring a little bit, even last year with that. Even though y'all got away with it when y'all won that West Virginia game, we all didn't look that great.
Nope.
see, I was at a wedding.
Yeah, you're at a
I
wedding.
didn't have to experience.
Yeah,
that
but
torture
Swiggy
like
knows what I'm
everybody
talking
else.
about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I haven't watched a whole lot of Sooners games last year, but I remember watching that one.
Okay,
And you're
Josh.
probably like, what the hell, guys?
I was like, what are y'all?
We
I
were
was like,
going
what are y'all?
probably.
I was like, what are
the
y'all
hell?
doing? I was like, watching is not good.
Make rules to your friends, and I'm just going to tell you this: you do not get married during football season. Period. End of discussion, or else things are going to go bad.
No, there are exceptions to the rule.
Nope, Gavin has spoken.
No. There are exceptions to the rule. It depends on the game. Now, my friend, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, this will be a question of the day for another day. I had a friend ask me if I wanted to go to their wedding on OU, Texas, and they are from Oklahoma. And I went,
Have they lost their minds?
Yeah.
how? No, no fall weddings in that respect.
The Rebel rivalry. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually ask you that question.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking from personal experience, Josh, because my sister got married on the OU Air Force in 2010, where they barely survived against Air Force, and I still have nightmares about that still as well, besides the Army game.
As Sean has said, don't play games where you're only planning for 1 week. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for the teams and getting them injured. Swiggy, what about you? Do you prefer going to the games or staying at home and watching the game? And for your preference, why?
I would say, for the most part, I prefer going to games. I like the crowd. I like being there. Love seeing things in person. Great not having distractions. The only addendum I'll put to that is that if you're talking about a 3:30 afternoon game in August or July,
Screw that.
no.
So you're not looking forward to the game we're going to at the beginning of September with that 2:30 kickoff.
Who says I'm going to that now?
Joke's on me.
Speaking of which, what was up with y'all getting so many 11 o'clock kickoffs last year?
Oh.
Y'all had a ton of
you, Justin, why would you bring that torture to us? Because the conference hates us, and that's
because y'all brought it up all the time last year.
Because the conference hates us, and they don't realize that.
Y'all had a ton of them.
Yeah, we had the most probably in 5 years, and each year we always get stuck with it, and it's because it's the 11 o'clock game because it's Fox. We want to put the games on that people want to see. Outside of OU Texas, which is the exception to the rule, nobody wants 11 a.m. games. They don't. They don't. So,
Alabama fans got so mad when they found out Alabama Texas was at 11.
Man, they got so mad about it, especially because they were convinced they were going to change it. I'm like, they're not changing it, guys. Good luck.
Yeah, you would think with Alabama they would change it. They usually make Alabama the marquee 2:30 game.
No deal with the SEC, so.
And well, the thing is, since they're technically still Big 12 right now, the Big 12 has it with Fox, and Fox is like, yeah, it's our.
Yep. Good luck to the Big 10 at this point in their big noon kickoffs. I bet everyone's going to be big and happy getting up at like 2 a.m. They're not. Nobody cares about 11 a.m. games, but the numbers, because there's nothing else on. Anyway, Swiggy, what about staying at home though? Why would you prefer staying at home if you have to stay at home?
Reason for staying at home is more climate control, and I don't have to pay for beer. Well, I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for beer.
Which is fair. I will say, gentlemen, before I move on to Gavin, I just want to say I'm very, very sad. I'm very, very sad today. My dad called me We did not qualify for OU Texas tickets this year. I'm just so bummed.
Aw.
He was in the running. He was in the purchase tier where it was not even the raffle. It was the purchase tier, but all the donors bought him up this year. They didn't even make it to the next one. I went, well, okay, save me money, I guess. I'm bummed.
Yeah.
But because Dad, for those of y'all who don't know, my dad doesn't go anymore with it. He'd rather stay at home. But he's like, I've had enough of that damn Dallas traffic. I'm like, I can't disagree with you, but that's why you go the day before, or you're a psychopath like Kayla and I were last year and leave at 1 o'clock in the morning and get there. Yes, we left at 1. And yes, it was worth it. Anyway, Gavin, what about you, buddy? Do you prefer going to the game in person or do you prefer watching it at home? Now, I know you're a high school person. So obviously, that high school environment, you got to be there for that. But what about college? And Justin and Swiggy as well. What about NFL as well? Because there is a difference between NFL and college environments.
Oh, NFL, I would never go to live just due to the cost reason and that and just the way their TV contracts work. You normally get the game. You normally get the good game you want on TV anyway. So,
Gotcha.
I can no, not the NFL.
Justin,
Okay.
same NFL.
Yeah, I've been to Titans games.
Gotcha. What did you enjoy the Titans game? How different was it? Because I've actually never been to an NFL game.
They're all right. I say I probably definitely prefer to watch them at home, but I'm at least glad I had to. Well, granted, the last couple of games I went to was hot as hell, and in particular, my last experience kind of sudden mostly for the trip back because we were playing the Colts and we lost. I'm like, 2 Titans fans pretty much bitched about the entire road trip back.
That's fair.
Yeah,
All
because
right,
they're tired of losing to the Colts.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I will say, and you know me, I actually live in a pretty much where it's kind of what we call like a small town, blue collar town for the most part. And, you know, for me, it's like, you know, that's kind of a way where everybody in the community gets together, you know, where we kind of get to meet up, check up with each other, and then kind of, you know, have, a good time and everything. Now, of course, you know, there's no, beverages or anything like that. Because, of course, we got high school kids there and everything. So, there's a lot of legal stuff and reasons. But, you always have a good and exciting time for the kids, But I would say the biggest jump, I guess you could say, from the high school to the college, is that the atmosphere is like, you can probably say it's like 6 or 7 times more than that. And I always think about it more like this because it's like, a lot of us, always, look at, I would say the big college dreams and all that and everything else though too, because it's almost like a fairy tale state, if I go to an OU game, because it's I rarely get a chance to get down for a whole lot. And it's whenever I do get a chance to go down, it's always like, I might see something that I might or might not expect. And the last couple of times that I've been down, I've seen crazy events. The last 2 times, 2014, Samaje Perine breaking the NCAA record. And then, of course, Caleb Williams went crazy for almost, going 460 yards. Josh, I went to that game. And,
Against Texas Tech?
Tech, yes.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so it's just a lot like, kind of going from that small town to, to a major D1 school. It's, it kind of gives you like a, shock and chill to your spine. But if it had to be with me, I would prefer it home. That way I'm not having to deal with all the gas money and having to deal with all the crazy travel.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. Me personally, and both sides of it, I love to attend the games. Mine is, you can't replicate that atmosphere. You can't replicate the tradition. You can't replicate like just the game day experience. Now, the flip side of it being is like, here's an example. I went to OU Texas last year. You cannot describe the emotions I went through that game from beginning and then the last 16 minutes. It's just not replicable. You only get that experience when you're actually at the game, though. Same thing with the OU Bama Sugar Bowl in 2014. You roll the dice on it, and you could probably get an experience like that. I love attending the games. Now, that being said, it gets tiring, like trying to do that 6 to almost 12 times a year if you do the away games or bowl games or natties or playoff, whatever, however that you want to define it. It does get tiring. And I will say, like, a big one for me was like, if I didn't attend the game, the sole reason would be it's against an opponent like in Kansas. Like, if I've seen them once, I've seen them a million times. I don't care on it. I just don't care for Kansas. Or like if it's something like if it's a rain, guys, I've done my time with rainy weather. I'm definitely one of those. But you can go in the rain. Yeah, but I was at the Idaho State game where we had the Oklahoma River go through the middle of the field. So like I've done my time. I've done my service as a student at that point. So for me, staying at home would be like, my advantage would be mostly probably traffic. That would be my advantage. But I love to attend the games. If I can get the opportunities to go, I love attending them for it. So thanks for y'all for answering the question. Chat, throw y'all's in if y'all like attending the games or if you like staying at home, because we have a full schedule tonight. So guys, we have to address the elephant in the room. We're going to have quick reactions and stuff, and then kind of delve into our first topic of previewing the season. Boys, my man, Cale Gundy has resigned, obviously, for some very, very obvious reasons, and there's no coming back. Gundy is gone. Gundy messed up. People need to accept that. What's done is done with it. He did it to protect that player, which, guys, if y'all are on a witch hunt with the pitchforks and the torches to find it, guys, just let it go. Just let it go, guys. You're only harming yourself for it. You're only harming the player.
I haven't dug too deep into it. I remember Gavin sent me a link on a Discord, but what exactly did this guy do again?
So Cale Gundy was a long time, like basically royalty, if you want to put it in that sense, at Oklahoma. He was a player for them in the 90s, and he was a coach there for 30 years. In a nutshell, unfortunately, during like a Thursday night positions meeting, a player wasn't paying attention, and he basically told him like, hey, you need to pay attention. This is important stuff that you need to know going into the games and stuff. This is short turnaround time. We only have 3 weeks left. Okay, fine. Well, obviously, like any teacher, any coach would, they're going to ask that player what's going on. So the player, I guess, still was not paying attention. So he took the iPad and projected it on the screen and read exactly what was on the iPad. My understanding, it was 2 sentences, but it was 2 more sentences that he needed to, and it was done. It was done at that point, and at that point, Gundy realized what he said, and he could no longer stay. It is what it is, and everyone can guess what it is with it. We all know what it was, and it's a horrible situation. It sucks. He got to go. There's no middle ground with it. So if Venables, this was his, I mentioned to Sean of what's it going to be with Venables' first true test of adversity for it when he loses a game. Had no idea this was going to happen. And Venables stuck with his of, we have a standard that we have to stick with, and it doesn't matter who it is. Not one man, person, whoever is bigger than the program. And Gundy had to go. It sucks that he did not get to end on his terms with it, but when that happens, you got to go. There is no middle ground for it, and it is what it is.
Did he say something? What did he do? Say something racist or something?
Yes.
Gosh dang it.
He said a racial slur twice. So
yeah, but that'll do it. That'll about do it.
Yep, and there's no middle ground for it.
Yeah, so, you ain't coming back from that.
Correct. And as they said, what it appears was he was reading it, but he read it multiple times, and that's done. There's no acceptance for it. They're like, if it was one time and it was just like, oh, he read it, was not realizing it, maybe it would have been suspension for the year, whatever. It does not matter. It's gone. Because at that point you affect recruiting. You go into a person's home. Everybody here, like his former players and everything, were coming to defend him, from DeMarco Murray to Rodney Anderson, Adrian Peterson, name whoever they were. And they said, this isn't who Cale is. And that's fine. It does not matter. There are 20 million other recruits at this point who do not know who Cale Gundy is for it. They're not going to care. The moment that's with it, they're going to basically tell him to leave on it. And as they said, and even if they stuck him around staff, let's say he was suspended for a year, it's still going to affect recruiting, because that's going to hang around the program. And this is, as Sean best put it, this is ripping the Band-Aid off and getting it done now. It sucks. People don't like it, but it had to be done. There was no middle ground. I'm with the administration on it. You had to do it. There is no middle ground with it, regardless of who the person was, whether they made a mistake or not.
Yeah, it's best to do that because you risk if you kept them around, you risk a potential team mutiny.
Correct. And the other thing too is to remind the chat, OU went through the SAE stuff not a decade ago. It's not acceptable. They're not going to even entertain an idea of a suspension. It's gone. It's a termination for it. Now, could he get picked up somewhere else? Sure. And he has maybe another school, maybe something. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not the people for it. So that's just the situation, guys. It is what it is. You just have to accept it and you move on. He messed up, but unfortunately, sometimes in life, you mess up once and it's a real big mess up and you pay the consequences for it. And that's what he did. He lost his career as a result of it. It sucks. It is what it is. So anyway, Swiggy, Gavin, Justin, do y'all have additional things? I wanted to get it out of the way right now because it's like I don't want to talk about it, but I will absolutely acknowledge it and be like, this is what had to be done. There's no middle ground.
How long was he coaching there? Like 20, 30 years?
30 years, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing how 30 years of your recognition and everything you've done for the school is pretty much down the drain just for saying 2 sentences.
Correct, but they were racial slurs.
It's not acceptable. I know. That's what I'm saying. The fact that they're racial slurs, I mean, of course, that's going to happen. But just amazing how everything you've done, all the things you've done throughout the entire time, you say 2 sentences of racial slur, just like that, up in smoke. 30 years, all gone.
Yep. And it just.
I mean, it does suck, but he said it multiple times. If it had been a slip or something, he was just reading that, realizing it. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Especially, I mean, it's going to play into and yeah, I mean, Mike Gundy's his problem from a few years ago would also come up again with this since they're brothers. So it had to be done. It would when Chuba Hubbard almost left the program.
Wait, like what was y'all's coach's first name?
Kale.
Wait,
he's Mike Gundy's brother.
Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State's coach?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. I'm a man, I'm 40.
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
Mike is the older brother, Kale's the younger brother. And
wow.
Mike went to Oklahoma State, and he was one of Oklahoma State's best players on the roster, period. Never beat Oklahoma.
Yeah,
but
that press conference was at least 10 years ago. He's still there.
Yeah, and then Kale is the younger brother, and he was a highly touted recruit out of Oklahoma. He was out of Midwest City, and I want to say he was a 4 or 5 star. Like, he was highly touted type of stuff, and people don't remember that. Like, he was sought after, especially because of how successful Mike was. So, yeah, Kale's the younger brother, and then it's just one went to OSU, went to OU. No controversy or anything along that line with. It's just that's where they were recruited. That's where they fell in love with their schools for it. Now, I will say, will Kale show up to probably alumni events? Will they invite him back with the team stuff? Sure. I don't think it's one of those type of egregious things where they're going to shun him completely with it, but it's going to take time with it. It's going to be, because of just how reading the situation with it overall. But he could not stay.
No, it was bad. It was going to happen. It's unfortunate it's unfortunate it did, but I mean, it's worse it's worse if it gets leaked later, and you can't have any university employees saying stuff like that. So
correct. And initially, I'll be upfront. I thought it was OU compliance because we know how insane OU compliance is. But when you texted me, I woke up. I went, "What? Oh hell!" And then I texted Sean, and he went, "What?" And then, it's just, nope, we're not dealing with this tonight. Go to bed, everybody. And that is something I will say. Guys, if you're one of the owners of that petition going around, just shut it off. You can get you can get all Oklahomans to sign it. Cale Gundy is not coming back. It's fruitless. Don't push it too much. So, Gavin, same thing. Just, it is what it is. Oh, if we hear Gavin, his audio may be off.
I'm sorry, my audio's kind of been sorry, I've been having a little connection issues, so forgive me on that. I would say with the issue with Cale Gundy, it's like, it's just like, I just don't understand. I mean, you saw your brother, go through the same, something similar and everything with all that stuff that was going on years ago and everything. And, it was like, it's like, I just don't know how I can tell you. It's like, if you can't get, you just know what's across. I mean, you set the example, and if you're not setting the example, then how can you get into that culture that, how Venables wants you to be, that even goes all the way back to when Bob first hired you? So I'm like thinking to myself, you pretty much did yourself.
You have to be in the moment. Essentially, you have to be in leadership classes I've had before. They always talk about being present in the moment. Gundy was not present in the moment, and again, one mistake completely, as Justin put it, made him lose all 30 years of his career. It is what it is. It's there's no changing it, and just people need to accept that, so we all move on from it. Though I will say, to wrap up that elephant in the room, I did not have on my bingo card that Kale would have been gone before Mike. I will be up front. I had Mike gone out of Oklahoma State when he got into the arguments with Holder and T-Boone. Did not have that on my bingo card that Kale would be gone from OU first. And I will say, guys, there was a mention, will Mike hire Kale? No, I don't think that. I honestly think Kale's going to retire. I think he's just done and call it a day. So now that being said, with the elephant out of the room, gentlemen, did y'all see the AP poll? Not the AP poll, the coaches poll with it, and that OU landed at number 9.
Yes.
Yeah. What are y'all initial thoughts on that? Do you think that's about right? Do you think that's not? Is Texas really back because they got a 1 first place vote? And I want to know who voted Texas first place so I can reject their vote.
Can we just go ahead and just say Texas is still not back yet, even with all the talent? It's like, look, unless you can prove something on the field, then it's still too early. I think I'm still kind of confused about it, but
meme until we die.
Yeah. I think OU, is in that respectable place right now to where I think, it puts them in a decent position, because right now, everybody's going to focus on Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, even Michigan and Ohio State. It's right now, it's like those 4 are considered to take, into that run. But, don't forget, they will have to knock each other out at some point, and they can sneak themselves on their way in.
Exactly.
That's kind of how I look at it. It's one of the deals. It's like, all right, we just see who the pecking order is. It's like, okay, now we just figure out how we can peck up or down.
Exactly. I think right now, for those of y'all who did not catch it, I'm just going to give y'all essentially like the poll. Number 1 was Bama. Number 2 was Ohio State. Number 3, Georgia. 4, Clemson. 5, Notre Dame. 6, Michigan. 7, A&M. 8, Utah. 9, Oklahoma. Other Big 12 teams were number 10, Baylor. Number 11, Oklahoma State. Number 18, Texas. And that's it for the relevant part.
I know Clemson finished better, but Clemson 4 just makes me die a little bit inside.
The only thing for Clemson is that I'm still not confident with their quarterback play.
Did they suck last year?
Yeah, they did.
By their standards, they were 10-3, but it's the ACC. They almost lost to Boston College, almost lost to Syracuse, Florida State, Louisville. They finished strong, but UConn, Wake Forest. Go on, guys.
I will say if there's maybe one team that I feel like is maybe underestimated right now, I would say it would be Miami at this point. They've gotten, a lot of coaching changes. Heck, even the Hall of Famer Ed Reed isn't even on that coaching staff.
Yeah, I think it's going to take. I get what you're saying. I just think it's going to take a year for Miami for him to really hit Miami.
Yeah, I think Miami is definitely going to be somebody to keep an eye on. Not right now, but can definitely make a bit of a hard impact. So I'm just going to say, just watch out for them because they can actually come for it. Plus, with all the NIL offers and everything, especially in a place like Miami. It's like kind of like the same thing with USC. So I'm just saying, just keep an eye out for that.
Oh yeah,
who's our coach now?
For Miami?
Yeah.
I think
It's like
Cristobal.
Cristobal. Yeah,
Cristobal.
Cristobal.
Yeah, they pried him away from Oregon.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Which kind of tells you everything you need to know about the which tells you everything you need to know about the Pac-12 at the moment.
That the Pac-12
but-
is like the little brother and
So
listening to Oklahoma State.
who's Oregon's coach now?
The
And,
Georgia defensive coordinator is who it is. He
what's
was
his
a
last
former.
name?
Okay,
it's
so who is it?
Dan
Dan-
Lanning.
Dan Lanning. That's it, Lanning. I could not think of
Yeah.
the last name.
Okay, so and Oregon's the same school that just got Bo Nix.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is weird.
The Bo
I'm still
Nix.
confused. I
Yeah.
forgot the Bo Nix. You're right, Swiggy. We can't forget it. Just like the
The Bo
Ohio
Nix.
State.
He made like one of the stupidest plays I've ever seen in college football in my life last year.
The Bo Nix experience.
Yeah,
yes.
that one stupid play he did in the LSU game. It was like I think it was like running around for like 10 seconds. He figured he could out through a touchdown.
You live by the Bo Nix experience and you die by the Bo Nix experience.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. I would have to say for the college stuff, I think Clemson is rated too high. Again, you can't really take stock of the rankings. They're just there just for talking. But for what it is, Clemson, I think, is too high. I think Michigan should be lower. I'm not really sure how I feel about Kansas State being left off. I think they're a respectable top 25 team. That's just missing, but I just look at this list on some of it. Some of them are too high, some of them are too low. I'm not surprised that Bama's number one. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and Georgia has their defensive pantry nearly dried out because they got a lot of them gone in the first round as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and I'm not saying, that they're basically rebuild because, they'll get the players and everything, but it's going to be somewhat of a rebuild year. So there you might have to deal with a lot of, some pains along the way for the most part.
Right. Anything else from the top 25 poll for now until I think AP releases next week? We're the one that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, all these polls are at this point is just a fun way to put numbers at the start of the season. Utah at 8 surprised me a little bit.
But then again, they hanged around pretty well with Ohio State, who had a terrible defense.
But you just can't consider bowl games real nowadays unless it's the playoff, because you have so many guys who just sit out to protect their draft stock. Which fair, but bowl games are just kind of. I still put any stock in bowl games. I kind of get Utah because they probably will be the best team in the Pac-12, but man, 8 feels too high for them at least. But watch, they end up 8th this season at eat crow. So
they might. I mean, it's the same thing though. I laughed where people were. I think it was some of the Yahoo comments or whatever that were like, USC needs to be higher. I'm like, no, they're exactly where they need to be, if not lower. Like, you may have some of the best players there. You don't have O-line. Good luck. Good luck. Y'all have to pay those people. They're having. Speaking of Tebow and USC, did you see that they're having open tryouts? It's gonna be rough.
Oh boy!
Wait, for what?
They're having walk-on tryouts. Now I know that's kind of standard fare, but with how much touted USC was with everything, that's kind of funny in my opinion. That's me. Don't judge me. Justin, anything coaches
walk on tryouts at USC.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, every school kind of does have that. If you have football experience, you may be like the 4th string, but they're never going to turn you away for it, especially if they're very, very thin at that position. You never know. They could find somebody that's a walk-on. We can't say anything for it because, look, I mean, Baker was that, but I mean, yeah, he was scholarship. But it's standard fare, but you would expect with all the USC's back, they wouldn't be publicizing it that much. Of come show us. That's a little sus, guys. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time I can maybe ever think about, any definition of a walk-on, I have to think of crap. I can't remember. man, he was an O-line for Arkansas in the 90s. Burlsworth or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have your kind of your Burlsworths every now and again, though. But
I think JJ Watt was a walk-on at Wisconsin, if I remember correctly, and he's probably the best, and he'd probably be considered the best. But
Yeah.
even
then,
even then, he had other football experience at Central Michigan. So it's it's strange, but if you search walk on Twitter, the only teams you see the only team accounts you really see advertising them are University of Central Florida, Prairie View A&M, Hawaii, it just that's it's not strange because like you said, every team is walk-ons. Everyone's gonna get a shot just because some might have had to transfer for whatever reason. But
correct.
We'll see. But the fact that if USC is publicizing it, that's weird.
Yeah, it's weird, especially because it's USC. We have about 4 minutes before our first break for it. I guess the last thing of just initial reactions from y'all is, did you see that ESPN is not going to be airing the Big 10 games? They backed away from it because I think the Big 10 wanted a little bit more money from it, and they're going to go with Fox, NBC, and CBS. I know some people have said this is brilliant. I don't think it is. I think this is kind of dumb, and I think people are overestimated. They're everyone's going to really tune into this is a great deal if they're on that 11 o'clock slot every single week. I don't think it is, but
I will say, and I will say, in working for, working for one of those networks and everything else too. Usually it's mostly the SEC has more power. The problem is the Big Ten just doesn't have that weight, compared to, where the SEC is at. And I'm sorry, but it's even though they're kind of getting some of the brains with USC and UCLA, it doesn't have a garnish. It's I really want to see Maryland and Illinois play. It's who wants to watch that? To be honest, I'm sorry, nobody wants to see
Maryland.
That. The problem is there's not any. Yeah, so I'm sorry, but it's just kind of there's kind of there's no notoriety or anything like that though too. It just kind of has maybe get 2 or 3 teams that are probably on the top, and that's it.
Plus Fox's infrastructure. I'm gonna be interesting to see how they do it, because ESPN, they have ESPN Plus they can throw stuff on, ESPN, ESPN2. Fox sold all their RSNs, and they have Fox Sports and the Fox Network, but
FS1.
I think that's run by Fox Sports, FS1.
Okay, yeah. Right.
So the same thing. But I'm just kind of but even with the lack of games, I'm just kind of questioning what their infrastructure is going to look like for Big Ten games. I guess I guess I'm just curious with it. It's Big Ten is just going to have to get used to 11 a.m. kickoffs, and it's it's going to be kind of sad, and it does suck that College Game Day is now going to be limited to certain parts of the country for games.
But I think, but the other thing you also need to think about. The other thing, and you also have to think about it because each network runs a little differently. Because CBS is not going to go all in, how it would be with ESPN. Because ESPN has all the championship coverage and everything else, for the national championship and the college football playoffs as well. Because each network is going to be always run a little differently. Because with CBS, which Viacom owns and everything, their biggest games and tournaments will be mostly the NCAA tournament or the Masters or the US Open, other avenues and aspects, to where, it's just not the same, for college football as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But I personally still think that's a disadvantage for the Big Ten. I mean, I know they're always like,
It
we need to
is.
play the games early because it's
It
cold
is.
out.
Yeah,
I know they're trying to push that 11 a.m., but I feel like the execs are seeing 11 a.m. all the numbers, and they're not realizing reality is it's because nothing else is on at 11 a.m. And I think that's going to hurt their stuff. And I mean, I don't know. Guys, I think we're 45 minutes in. I think we're gonna take our first break here for a moment. So when we come back, chat, we're going to kind of preview the 2022 Oklahoma Sooners season. So I got a little bit of trivia for you guys. So I want to see if y'all have the answers in the comments. So we'll be back here. It's 8:41 p.m. We'll be back here about 8:45 p.m. See y'all here. Let's see. All right, chat, we are back. And for those of y'all that were watching, the answer to the trivia question is the Jazz Hounds. I found
I
that
would
out.
not have expected that, to be honest. I would not have expected that.
So, fun fact, Gavin, my grandfather was actually one of the Jazz Hounds. I actually have his original paddle. My dad and
Wow.
aunt gave that to me, and I've shown it off on other chat, other live streams before. But Grandpa was a part of the Pride in 1936, but he was also part of the Jazz Hounds. My understanding is at some point and I didn't have the text on it, which it drives me nuts when I make mistakes like that. But my understanding is at one point the Jazz Hounds and the Roughnecks merged together, and they basically became the Roughnecks. But the Roughnecks took the tradition of the paddles from the Jazz Hounds. I believe the Roughnecks had the cardigans at that point, or the sweaters. I may have it mixed up, but they actually did incorporate it so that it's always there essentially at that point. But yeah, for those of y'all who never knew that, another little tidbit of OU trivia with it. I've gone through so much OU trivia to find y'all some good stuff. And I hope y'all found out that you didn't know this factor and things. So, but now that all being said, let's dive right into one of our main topics of tonight, previewing the 2022 football schedule. So I'm going to have this up as well just for a very brief moment because I want all four of us on the main screen, but I want to remind everybody who our opponents are for 2022. So for week 1, we've got UTEP at home. Week 2, we've got our original pay-per-view, but now ESPN Plus game with Kent State again at home. Week 3, we travel up and face Nebraska for the other half of the home and home. Number 4, we come back home after that and face Kansas State at home. 5th game, we will go to TCU. 6th game, week after that, is going to be Texas. 7th game is going to be Kansas. And then I believe let's see, I think there was a bye week I may have missed, but
bye week after Texas. No, not after Texas. I read that wrong.
It's after somebody, but there is a bye. I think it's after Kansas. No, it's not. It's after.
It is after Kansas.
Yeah, after Kansas.
I think it is after Kansas.
It is after Kansas. Yeah, I can't read it that well. But we come home, face Kansas, and we have a bye week off. Then week 8, we face at Iowa State, and that schedule, that date right there is incorrect, as Iowa State is now a Saturday game. It is not a Thursday game. Keep that in mind. Then come back home. We face probably our toughest challenge all season is going to be Baylor at home. Then we go on the road to West Virginia, potentially for the last time, depending on how the TV deals work out. We then get Bedlam for them, making sure that, little brother knows rent is due the week before Thanksgiving. And then we kind of wrap up the season, weird enough, at Lubbock. And, that's a weird one for it. I always would have expected Oklahoma State to be last game. But that all being said, gentlemen, what is your expectations for OU this season? Like, what is your what would be a successful season to you under first-year head coach Brent Venables? And we'll start with Justin. Since you're more of an outsider for the OU stuff, I want to kind of get your thoughts on what do you think would be successful for an OU season, or what expectations you have for the Sooners.
Well, obviously, with y'all's high reputation, being Oklahoma, I expect you guys at the very least be in the top 15 at the very least by the end of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about record?
How many total games do you guys play?
We play 12.
Let's see. I can see y'all having maybe a 2-loss season, maybe.
Okay, that's fair. That's kind of what everybody's been saying about 10-2 and possibly playing for a Big 12 title. Gavin, what about you? What is your bar for this team this year?
Okay, I would say my bar would be, I would probably say, I would see us winning the Big 12, but I would say not getting into the college football playoff.
Okay, so are you saying that we would probably go 10-2?
I would say 10-2 at best. I would go 11-2, including the bowl game.
That's fair. Okay. Well, wouldn't it would be 12-2 because that championship and then
12-2. Yeah, right, 12-2. But I would say I just say if we just focus on the conference championship and then the rest will start to follow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Swiggy? What is your bar for this team?
I think anything over 10 wins, you can call it a successful season. 9. I think you're 9. You're doing fine. A little bit less than that. Man, there better have been some bad injuries that just took stuff out.
Kind of like a 2009 season.
Yeah, I mean, anything below 9 has me at least mildly concerned. Minus like injuries, things outside our control, But I do think that realistically, realistically, the schedule isn't too bad for us this year as far as having a lot of big games back to back to back. We have a bit more spacing. We don't have a bye week before or after Texas, which I feel is good. End of the season always gets rough, but I'd say 10 wins. I'd say it's a very successful season.
I'm going to agree with the chat. I think it's going to be a 10 or 11 win season. I think there is going to be a loss. Where that loss is going to be, I don't necessarily know because I've gone back and forth a whole lot. Swiggy, which one do you think is the trap game? Every year we have those trap games. There's every one of those. Which one do you think is the trap game this year?
I have.
And don't you dare say little brother because I will in this chat drive down to your apartment.
For me, just looking at it, not knowing enough about Venables, I think there are 3 trap games. I think we have 3 trap games on the year. I think one could be Texas Tech, just because we play them after Bedlam. Coming off the emotion of that, we can always be a lot. Iowa State after a bye, after Kansas. That could definitely be one. We're looking ahead to Baylor. And this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. Nebraska worries me a little bit.
Really?
Admittedly, Nebraska has not been good, but that's still a game with a lot of emotion. You're talking Venables' 3rd game. It's UTEP and Kent State aren't Power 5 programs. It's the first Power 5 I just to me, Nebraska is just flashing right now. As if we lose our focus, bad things could happen. I don't think Nebraska is going to be good, but I think because a lot of people think that, you enter into trap game mentality with it.
Yeah, then I know they were pretty bad last year and had a bunch of losses, but when like a lot of their losses last year by like 7 points or less.
Yeah, like 7 or 8 of their games, were by around 7 points or less. So I think if anything, I would say, and a lot of people were saying, Nebraska was the best 3-9 team, and it's like, granted,
but you still lost 9.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, that could be something to where, a few play calls here or there, and they could have 7-5, 8-4. I just really think more than anything that I could say, just kind of watch out, where I'm afraid they might play below their potential, kind of playing on their level, and that can really, end up
play down a
backfiring
competition.
on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, playing out of competition. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my words tonight, so bear with me here.
It's okay. It's okay.
I just don't know with Nebraska. That one just screams to me a definite possible trap game.
Yeah. But I will say, if there was another trap game, and I think you might have mentioned it, Swiggy, I would probably say Iowa State would probably be a trap game. You were, getting into that because, like I said, that's usually the week before Baylor. And I'm going to be honest, and they're playing at Jack Trice Stadium, which it is usually pretty hectic, usually when you're playing over there. And we've seen upsets that have happened in that stadium, though, too. So that one kind of has me to where I kind of have that circled right there.
Didn't Brock Purdy graduate?
Yes.
Yeah, he did graduate, but with Iowa State, you still are pretty, you still have to keep an eye on them, because they are pretty much known for doing well with upsets over the years.
Which is fair. My thought for trap game, I'll be upfront. Swiggy, with all due respect, I disagree with you with Nebraska. With it, I think they're going to go in prepared for it. I really think I don't think it's going to be a Lincoln Riley situation with it where it was frustrated. I really do think, barring an injury, barring some stuff now, this is now where we can kind of mention it, even though, yes, we acknowledged it. Without a wide receiver coach, I do think it's going to be a little weird for Nebraska for it, but Venables and Levy are going to run the ball 45, 50 times. That's going to wear Nebraska out. I don't think Nebraska is going to be prepared. I'm not worried about that game. To me, the games, guys, that I'm legitimately worried about looking at this schedule, Kansas State. None of y'all mentioned Kansas State.
I can see that.
Kansas State has won, I think, the past 3 or 4 times out of the past 3 or 4 times in Norman. I'm genuine. Up front, I've seen a lot of teams play in Norman live. I have never actually witnessed OU beating K-State in person. That is just how successful Kansas State is in. Everyone wants to forbid about Kleiman, and Kleiman is a solid coach. Like, even I said at some point when Bob retired, who do we go get? And I even said for Oklahoma State, that would have been their best hire is Kleiman. He's a solid coach. I really do believe we got to watch out for him.
It's like he's channeling his inner Coach Schneider.
Yes. And honestly, when I was comparing notes with Sean of what games I wanted to attend this year, obviously there was the Baylor one. My dad has season tickets, so we exchanged the games of which ones he wants to go to. I get the first game because it's going to be hot, and he doesn't want to go to it. But we were looking at, I'm I claimed K-State last year. It's going to be a solid game this year. That's actually a pretty good game. We're lucky to have it, as Weston put it. We are very lucky to have them at home, and I absolutely agree. We got to have the crowd on that one.
Yeah, and I will say this though too. And if there's one thing that I've always gone with Kansas State, and it's been year after year after year, it is disciplined football. They do not make a lot of mistakes. If you start making mistakes, you're going to lose that game.
Exactly. And I think that's a sneaky one that people just are not paying attention to. But that's me. Yeah. Honestly, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was also going to say, too, because they also got Martinez in there along with Deuce Vaughn in the backfield as well. I can see that as a deadly combo right there, for the 1-2 punch.
Correct. Now, I think he's going to have less success against us than last year, but it's still Deuce Vaughn. He is going to be a threat. Gavin, I think you're the one that mentioned TCU. I'm not worried about TCU because of their first-year head coach.
No, I didn't say TCU. I said Iowa State.
Iowa State. Swiggy, you were the one that said TCU, correct?
No, I didn't say TCU. I said Tech, Iowa State, and Nebraska scared me.
Somebody said TCU, but I'm not worried about TCU.
One name.
Yeah.
Somebody did. I must have imagined it was the 5th person on our live stream, apparently. I'm not worried about TCU. Honestly, Gavin, I'm not worried about Iowa State. They've lost so many players. I am genuinely curious about Iowa State if they're going to even go over 6-6 this year. That is how terrible I think they are this year. I honestly think they're going to be the 8th best team. They are just that bad. And maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe I'm wrong with it because it is before Baylor, but I'm not really worried about Iowa State from it. Now, Baylor, on the other hand, yes, I am absolutely worried about that one because
I actually got to see Baylor play last year.
Huh?
I actually got to see Baylor play last year because I had some friends who and their family who graduated from Baylor and they're Baylor's fans. So we went to the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans when they played Ole Miss.
Oh, how'd you enjoy it?
It was a lot of fun. It was at the Superdome.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a bummer because Matt Corral got hurt in the second quarter, but it was still a good game.
Yeah. I mean, just going to the Sugar Bowl, even just I know you don't root for the Baylor Ole Miss for it, but still just enjoying the game is just worth it.
Yeah, I was just there for the atmosphere more than anything.
Yeah. See, that's me but still though, Baylor, even though they lost some people, Dave Arnando, you can't underestimate him, and I cannot stress this enough. That's to me is going to be OU's biggest challenge this year, what it is currently on the schedule. For it. And I think that's the game we have to circle because they may be looking forward maybe several weeks before. But having that slate.
They beat y'all last year, right?
Yeah, they beat us in Waco.
Yeah,
I was
at
at
Waco.
that one.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was
I
not fun.
remember seeing parts of that game.
Well, problem is we didn't win in the trenches. That was our biggest downfall.
Yeah, wasn't it one of the
Exactly.
games? Was that one of the games where Spencer Rattler was bad?
No, Caleb started.
Do you know how
there,
little
and then-
that narrows it down, Justin? I'm just kidding.
Okay, what was it?
Caleb started.
What was it? Caleb that was bad.
Yeah, Caleb was bad, and then all of a sudden he basically was out for like a couple series because I think his hand got stepped on, and so Spencer basically came in and he didn't do much. So, and then all of a sudden he decides to plug Caleb back in, but they just couldn't get anything going offensively. I mean, they only had like one rushing yard in the third quarter.
Yep, they could not just get anything going. And mind you, there was some weird flags with it, but the team was just terrible. They were bad, and we saw flashes of it, I think, a couple weeks before with the Kansas game, and yeah, it was bad. Yeah. Justin, really fast, the chat asked you, did you enjoy the Ole Miss offense when you went?
Well, yeah, Benton the pieces with Matt Corral. Yeah, even their backup wasn't that bad. They did try to do a long play, a lot of like long passing plays, but Baylor defended really well. But yeah, the offense was pretty high flying when they were able to get going. They were mostly able to get when they moved the ball was mostly on the ground with their running game since they weren't moving the ball much with their back quarterback throwing the ball because he missed a lot of passes. But they ran the ball pretty good.
Makes sense. You know that Ole Miss's OC is now our OC since Tebow moved out.
So that's why your chat asked. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a high flying offense under Matt Corral last year. They were like one of the highest score teams in the SEC, I believe.
Yeah. So with the schedule, so Baylor, like I said, that game, I don't think it's a trap game, but I'm worried just for the placement of it. Even though we played really well, West Virginia, I don't think they're going to put up a fight. They are terrible. Mm-hmm. They're just as bad. But it's between. It's West Virginia. They're going to be lucky to even win 4 games, man. They have a new head coach again as well.
That's such a weird thing with West Virginia because they're that kind of annoying in college football and college basketball.
Yeah,
even when they're not very good, they're always annoying.
I think it's just it's an inconvenience for OU since they have to go to Morgantown and then have Bedlam the following week. It's more of it's just that back of the mind type of deal with it. I don't think it's a trap game. But you got to prepare for it. Oklahoma State, I'm not at all worried. They're going to make sure rent is due that weekend, and I would not be surprised if they just wipe them off the map this year. And then the more I thought about it, as bad as they are, I'm going to agree with y'all with Texas Tech. That emotions running high after Bedlam. Weird things happen at Lubbock, and I hope it's not a night game, especially for last year. And if you're in the driver's seat for the Big 12 championship to appear in it, yeah, I could see that as a trap game. I absolutely could. So I want to get y'all's input though. UTEP, win or loss?
Win.
One through each one. Absolutely. Over under 10 points at this point.
Over.
Yeah. What about Kent State? I'm going to skip that one. If you say we're going to lose, I'm going to smack you. So, yeah, we're going to skip that one. Nebraska. Swiggy, you did say that you were worried about Nebraska. What are the keys for that one?
It's going to be a win. I still think it's going to be a win. I just think that anytime you have a new coach, you have a new system, and it's your first game against a Power 5 program, especially a game that Nebraska, especially like that's a game Scott Frost has to have. Like if it wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska put everything into this game this year. So I still think it's a win. I just think it's not a game you can sleep on.
That's fair. Now that being said, if this is Nebraska's, I guess I got my words caught up. This is Nebraska's like defining game. They have to win this game. If they do not win this game, how long does Scott Frost have at Nebraska? Is he out this year? Do you think he has one more year? Do they leave him on the tarmac, Lane Kiffin style, even though they're in Nebraska? Like, what are you thinking?
He'll be gone by game 7.
I would Gavin. I think he might be gone because I imagine Nebraska is one of those schools that's like you have such high expectations. I honestly thought that was a funky high to begin with because I know obviously as a Memphis guy, I know he did a really good job at UCF, but that seems like a pretty big jump for such a high prestige program.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with you because honestly, I didn't think he was that good at UCF. I know the record says otherwise, but I was like, even for me, when I started to see really the problems with Riley's coaching last season for it, when it became like kind of real obvious, even then, Scott Frost is like a worse version of Riley, in my opinion. Now, feel free to disagree with me. Feel free to tell me, what are you smoking? But that I never have been impressed with him. That's just my opinion on it. So Nebraska. Okay. What about K-State? What's your initial reactions for that?
I would say a win, but under 10 points.
Do you think it's going to be a tough game?
I think it'll be a tough game because, like I said, it's always about discipline. And if they're not disciplined, then they're going to lose the game. That's just kind of the way I look at it.
I'm dumb. I'm going to go back to Nebraska really fast, Gavin. I'll be honest. I'm going to make y'all laugh. Does Nebraska enter this game undefeated? And I'm serious. Do they drop a game? Do they drop their first game in week 0?
I gotta need to see Nebraska's schedule because I think they go to Dublin for their first game
against Purdue or Northwestern.
No, Northwestern.
And I'm serious. Do they drop that game because it's in Ireland?
Yeah, I
know, right?
Northwestern has always been a weird. Yeah, like I don't even know what to expect, but I think if I had to take a look at it, I can see him as I see him as 2-1 with them losing to Northwestern.
That's fair.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, that's all I got.
Okay. But yeah, Kansas State, I think that's going to be a tough one. Then we go to TCU, who, as a reminder, has a first-year head coach. Do y'all think we handle them, take care of business? TCU get ready for Texas. Do you think it's going to be tough for them to do back-to-back Dallas for 2 weeks?
I think we take care of business against TCU, so I'm not concerned.
Yeah, okay. I'm good. I'm good with TCU, and I got them over 10.
Gotcha. I'm going to leave Texas up there, even though I think we're going to handle Texas because their O-line is just non-existent right now. But I think it's still going to be a 7-point game. That's just how it's been the past couple of years. I don't see that changing just because both teams are going to be energized, and this is going to be Venables' first Texas as the head coach. Yeah, the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. But yeah, what about Kansas? Well, we're going to skip Kansas because we know we're going to take care of business against Kansas. Knock on wood, we're not Texas. Iowa State. Gavin, you mentioned Iowa State, so did Swiggy. Why would they lose that one? Give me that one.
Looking forward to Baylor.
Really? Okay.
And plus, as much as I like OU, as much as I love the Sooners, we always have a game that kind of feels like Iowa State, Colorado back in 2007, where it's like, oh, we should take care of business, should be fine. It's a road game. I could definitely see a sneaky just peeking forward. Going through to, we play Texas, then we come down, we do Kansas, then the bye week, and then Iowa State. It just feels like a good mix. Just feels like a good mix for a possible upset.
Okay. Gavin, you were going to say something on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, Swiggy kind of took the words out of my mouth though too, and like I said, and I will say Jack Trice Stadium and I will say this, if there is a time that I want it to be as a day game, if anything, I would rather it be at Jack Trice Stadium, have it as a day game to where it's a 2:30 or 11. I do not feel comfortable with us playing at night over there because, there's a lot of crazy things that happen usually when they play a night game over there.
Okay. Baylor, we all said Baylor's going to be a tough one. That's just we're going to have to watch the season how it goes. They're lucky they get them at home. That does give an advantage for that. And we're going to have to see because that's kind of the last third of the season at that point. We'll have 8 games based on how well they're going to be prepared against Baylor. West Virginia, they got to go to Morgantown. Do you think
I see that. I see it as a win.
That doesn't really scare me.
Even going to Morgantown, just looking ahead?
Yeah, I see it as a win.
Okay. What about, and then Oklahoma State, I think we all agree until otherwise, it's got to be, you would favor Sooners. Texas Tech, I think we stated it too, is it could be a trap game because it's the last game of the season, emotions after Bedlam. It is at Lubbock. Even though we've taken care of business with them, it is Texas Tech. Weird things happen at Texas Tech.
But I think if I may add in another factor too, you also have to realize we'll have to see where the standings are at that point. Because, depending on the standings, they might not look ahead or anything. They might just go ahead and play that game and just basically beat them out, so in order to make a point, in the standings, towards the end of the season.
Gotcha. Yeah. Who do you see OU playing in the Big 12 championship?
I have either Baylor or Oklahoma State, and I have to maybe give the slight edge to Oklahoma State.
Really? Why the slight edge over Oklahoma State?
I don't know. The thing is, and I've kind of looked at this for the most part, Baylor's got some questions, offensively. In fact, and especially in the running back and everything. And plus they have Spencer Sanders coming back there too, who's been very constant right there. He is what I would probably say will either make or break for OSU season. So that's probably going to be the one player I think is going to be, who's going to be, you have to keep an eye on for OSU on the offensive side of the ball. Now, of course, defense, they've kind of lost a little bit, especially with like Malcolm Rodriguez, our linebacker, who just got drafted. But, they still got some, key pieces from that defense last year that made them, where they were at the Fiesta Bowl last year.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, Gavin, they also lost their defensive coordinator, which to me is what made that team. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, now you ride higher on Spencer Sanders than I do. I have no faith in Spencer Sanders. I don't.
Well, then again, we'll just see, because I am going to be very interested to see with all that happens. In fact, I'm trying to double check. Does OSU and Texas? I think OSU and Texas. I think, is it at Stillwater this year?
I think it's in Austin. Nope, it is in Stillwater. Yep.
Yeah, and I will say, when OSU and Stillwater play, OSU and Texas play in Stillwater, it always gets crazy there in Stillwater when those two teams play, and I can see that going towards OSU.
Yeah, I would say that would go OSU's way only because Texas has to play us first, and then I think they have to play Oklahoma State back to back. No, Iowa State and then Oklahoma State. So, for me, that's a tough one for Texas. The schedule does not favor them for that this year. I have to think. I think it's going to be OU Baylor. I don't see any reason why Baylor would not be included in the Big 12 championship right now. That's me. For it, it's just Arnonda's good. It's just good. Swiggy, Justin, who do y'all have in the Big 12 championship?
I'm going Baylor OU. That just feels like that's what it's going to be to me. I just don't. I mean, you have a lot of teams who are going to be more down this year. So I'll go boring answer.
I mean, that's not a boring answer. I mean, it's either everyone has either said OU Baylor or OU Oklahoma State. Justin, who do you have for Big 12? Who's your prediction?
I'd probably say the same, Baylor or Oklahoma, just as a safe pick. Honestly, I have a hard time keeping up who's even in the Big 12 anymore.
And that's fair. Well, and the big thing with that I always go into right now with whatever times left OU has in the Big 12, whether it's 1 or more, 2 or more years past this season, OU is favored in every game, as they should be. It's what disaster happens that causes them to fall off. Even last year, they were favored all the way to the last 5 minutes of Bedlam going into the Big 12 thing. They were favored to go last year, and they probably should have gone if OU did not get screwed on a couple calls with the refs at that point. And yes, I will say they got screwed by refs, but there's also 59 other minutes you got to play. That being said, even then they deserve to go there. So there's nothing that has proven otherwise at this point that has told me that OU should not at least be one of those teams. It has to be disaster. with it. So, which is why they took their anger out on Oregon and outside of Tebow leaving. So, guys, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of high school football. And we're going to talk a little tiny bit about NFL and then wrap up the live stream and get ready for next week at this point. We were going to have a special guest on this week from the Pride of Oklahoma, but unfortunately he had work stuff come up very short term in the past like 24 hours. So he will be on next week with us for that. But usually around this time, we would go into our second segment for that. That being said, we'll take a quick like 2 or 3 minute one and we'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, we are back for our final segment tonight. I want to thank everybody again for sticking with us for this live stream, as well as like enjoying the breaks. I like mixing that up as well as it gives us a moment to like stand up, stretch, because talking hour and a half on a live stream is pretty intense. But we're going to move on now to Gavin. We got some 6A-II high school football to talk about, but I did want to bring up one thing. What is your thoughts on the OSSAA adopting the new rules about like fan interactions, player behavior? Because my understanding is they're just following the rules that was handed down to them from the national people. Like they didn't have a choice from that. Because I've seen some feedback where it's like, well, of course, like players shouldn't have refs. Of course, people this. But then it was like, why about the fans? They're cheering and stuff, and it can lead to suspension of the team. Again, my understanding that's natural. That's not their choice for that.
Yeah, and I will say this briefly too, because a lot of the issues too, and a lot of people might not realize, and we've talked about this in your previous broadcast, but you know, there's been like a huge ref shortage, and they're having a hard time trying to find refs to actually want to be able to ref these games. I mean, you know, especially even at the youth level that are just like 14 or 15 years old, and that they're getting berated by, parents that are twice their age and everything, that kind of get on and upset about it. And, and especially for, these kids and everything that are going up and everything too, it's about, I guess, in the sense of setting that model. So I think a lot of it was just like to where we just had to get to the point to where if we got to find a way to keep the refs in the game and everything. And that's kind of been one of the issues that they've been trying to do. So I, think it was just more of a ploy to where they're trying to do what they can to, try and minimize the damage, from all the stuff that they've been going on, from the abuse that they've been doing for years.
Right. Was there anything noteworthy from it besides that as well? From it, just like trying to keep people safe, trying to keep the players safe.
Well,
anything that stood out to you?
I think
and the
it's
refs,
not
of course, but
besides the players and the refs, of course. But I think a lot of it's just like at times, especially when you get into small towns, pride is always such a huge issue. I really feel it's just a big deal. Yeah, but it's like it gets to times where it's been a lot of times where it's been crossing the line. I remember seeing a game that was like a couple years ago. I was hearing some chants and stuff like that and everything I could not believe, and they were also getting upset, frustrated at refs and targeting them as well. It was just like, it was just not that good. I mean, yeah, you might get a few calls to where, you might not agree with them, but it's no way to really belittle, a ref and, and get, flagged and, basically go through all that. It's just one of those things to where I feel like something had to be done for the most part. So, even if it was the national level, I kind of have to agree with it.
Gavin, is it because they threw the horns down? It's because they threw the horns down. That's why the rule changes.
Yeah. Well, don't tell that to Jones, to Oklahoma. So don't tell that to the folks.
Oh, I personally know people up in Jones with it. I joke with them all the time. Be like, it's okay. You're just the off-brand Longhorns. They don't like me saying that. No, with the OSAA one with it too. I think the controversy around it too is it's egregious. Well, how do you define that? Outside of some very clear examples like, oh, a player tackled a ref, a fan tackled a ref. Okay, that's egregious. How do you define that? Because even me, I'll admit it, when the refs make very blatantly bad calls, I yell at them like they're supposed to have a higher standard. Like, I'm not going to say for high school because I don't really attend the high school games, but at OU games, I've booed refs. I booed my own team too when there's points with it. The infamous Baylor Mike Stoops. Yes, I was at that game and I booed that one. They deserve to be that with the Baylor. But that being said, for that, like ref ones with it, I'm like, that's just, to me, that's part of the game with it. Like, you just got to be steeled against it. And some of it, again, sure, there's stuff that's like, oh, that's questionable why they're doing that. But again, it is what it is for it. I just don't like their definition of what egregious is, because that's so broad. It is what it is. But tell us a little bit about some 6A-II. What's going on in 6A-II football this year, Gavin?
And we'll just say this: goodbye Bixby, and it's going to be a wide open race. That's going to be the best way to describe it this year. Now that Bixby's gone, I think if anything, it's going to be interesting because you got a few teams that are going to be rising up. Tahlequah is actually going to be moving up to 6A-II. It'll be interesting with them in the race. But I think if I had to get a few teams that I would say would probably win it all, it'll either come down to, I would say, Stillwater, Choctaw, and Booker T. Washington. Those are the three teams I would say that would be definitely in the runnings for winning the state title this year.
Why so? Is it just the returning class with it? Just because who they were facing?
A part of it was what they're facing, and of course, Bixby was always in the way. The only other team that actually won a 6A-II title, you have to look at Booker T. Washington. And it's like how they said it was always, they were always in the road. Now, another issue too, I will say, it's with those three, I think it'll be definitely an interesting to kind of see how it is, and plus with some of the returning classes that they have. But Del City, who's always been there in 6A-II for quite a few years, is dropped down to 5A, but that's going to be another discussion
for another day, essentially. Yeah.
But I think it's going to be to the point. Yeah. So, but it's going to be to where I think those three are going to be the ones that are going to be in contention for the gold ball.
Awesome. What about for any other team? Do you see kind of the same teams making the playoff? Any surprise ones this year?
I would probably say if I have would probably be my biggest surprise. I would watch out for Sand Springs because Sand Springs kind of did a lot of shock last year because they knocked out Del City last year in the first round of the playoffs, which no one expected them to do that. They were expected to lie down before they got killed in the semis.
Yeah. What else is going on in 6A too? So you said it was Choctaw, Booker T, and who else? For
Stillwater.
Is there a team that you expect to take a backward step this year with it? They lost so many students with it. They're just not. You don't think they're going to be anywhere near as good, or teams that you expect to struggle?
I think the teams I would probably expect it to struggle. I would probably give Tahlequah because they have a lot. Even though they got a lot of younger players returning. 6A-II, it's kind of its own different class. And not only that, the travel is a lot more farther out because they're around the southeast part and they would have to travel to mostly the Tulsa area schools, and those long bus drives are usually going to be taking quite a bit as well. But I would say, I think also U.S. Grant also moved in as there as well. It's going to be interesting kind of to see because it's going to be a lot of new competition be going into all of that.
Mm-hmm. So just a lot happening in high school football at this point. When high school starts, started this week, but the first games really aren't until I think Labor Day, right? Like Friday Night Lights is not till then.
No. They have week 0. Don't forget, they have week 0. It's around August 26th and 27th.
I must be off then with it. That must be very, very select teams that are like week 0s.
Yes, and mostly because that's a lot for the 6A schools because most of the schools are basically within their own district and they have a hard time trying to find other teams. So they have that extra week to kind of help find teams to play, before their district games. Makes
sense.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, by the way, Justin, because we talk about Oklahoma football with it. Do you enjoy out in your area? I think it's Tennessee high school football. Is it just as big as Texas, Oklahoma area with it? Is there high school games you enjoy?
Not really, but as far as how big it is, I wouldn't say it's that big, but I do follow a lot of people on Twitter who I know locally, and they're pretty. They keep up with their alma maters, and relatively speaking, and I saw a lot of good memories from when I did follow a lot of schools. Like while I was in high school, I was a band for 4 years, so I got to see a lot of good teams, play each other.
Nice. Did when you were in with your high school stuff, is it like 6A, 5A, or does it get even larger for Tennessee?
I think it's 5A, I believe. I have to double check that.
Gotcha. For the largest classes?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, I don't know what the student distribution or anything is, but it's always interesting. Did you, for band and stuff, what was your favorite high school game going to for traveling, or rivals? Who was y'all's rival?
It was Houston High School, I'd say, or Carterville.
Yeah. Did y'all enjoy traveling to the other games and stuff as well for away games?
Yeah, so some of them are okay. We never went too far though. There was a couple years. There was the 1 year we actually played South Panola, who usually has some of the best high school teams in the country, and that didn't go well. But I think it's basically equivalent. It's basically equivalent of y'all playing a team that's basically I don't know, one of the lesser conferences that basically y'all paying to beat the crap out of.
Yeah, we call that the homecoming games,
or basically what Appalachian State was supposed to be with Michigan all those years ago.
Yeah.
Or the 1 year where UT Martin was supposed to. What year UT Martin beat Memphis?
Yeah, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. It's just Gavin.
I actually went to T-Bar for college. I thought that was funny.
I mean, it's funny for it, but it's like
it was a low
we're
point for
supposed to be
Memphis
better.
football, though.
Yeah. Gavin did one thing, and then we'll move on to just a little bit of NFL talk and wrap up the live stream. Did you know that I read this article and I had to bring it back up that Riverheads out of Staunton, Virginia has won 50 games in a row. And Bixby has won 49, and they are competing to see who's going to keep the longest win streak at this point in the nation. Like Bixby's getting a lot of credit, and so is that Virginia school.
Yeah, and I will tell you too. Bixby has been such a run. I just can't really see them really losing at this point. But like I said, their first test is going to be week 0 against Owasso. So keep an eye out for that.
Correct. And the reason why it's also big too, that I mentioned it, is Virginia, the Riverheads, they tied the state record at 50 games. So if they win it, they're good. For us, Bixby is the record holder, obviously, for that. So thanks for that input, Gavin and Justin, for high school football. We'll go over a little bit of 5A as we're still in preseason for OU Sooners until we really get delved into the season. But let's talk a little bit of the NFL. First off, did y'all see Detroit's owner got cut? He is gone for 7 years, and I think everybody from Michigan, as far as I can tell, is celebrating because they said he grifted into that position.
Sure, I know Plotline knows.
Oh, absolutely.
Gosh.
Yeah, like Brian is just head over heels. He's like,
yeah, he is.
He is thrilled. I'm not surprised. I think it was a long time coming. I think he stayed a little, like 2 years longer than I thought.
I mean, I'm sorry about that.
He should have been gone years ago.
Yeah. He should have been gone years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but I think it's worse than the Factory of Sadness, if anything.
Yeah. Swiggy, what about you for NFL? You mentioned stuff, I think, earlier before the live stream about the Bears. Tell me a little bit what's going on there. You both are enjoying that. Tell us about it. Or maybe Swiggy stepped away. Justin, you tell us about it.
Basically, Quan Smith wants to be traded.
Wop wop.
Wop wop.
Wop wop. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to be one of those, like, good luck?
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, why are you just now asking for it to be traded? You should have asked that months ago. So good luck with that.
So basically, he's going to basically be sitting maybe the bench at that point. Like, bro, you had your opportunity. It passed.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, get up out of here. Like you go, you already traded away up Khalil Mack, and now you about to lose for Quan Smith.
Which is fair. What about he also brought up things like Hard Knocks. Anything from I think last night?
I haven't actually been following that, but maybe Swiggy has. I'm not sure where he went.
Yeah,
I even know what team they're covering.
I don't either, honestly. We lost his mic, so he went somewhere. He went somewhere, but I know we want to talk about it, so if we get him back by the end of the stream, we'll talk a little bit about that. But we still have preseason football. We have I think, Jacksonville this week as well again with it, I think. No, we have the Giants and the Patriots tomorrow night at 6, and then we have the Titans and the Ravens tomorrow night, and then Friday we have the Browns, the Jaguars, the Packers, and the 49ers, the Jets and the Eagles, and then we also have the Falcons and the Lions at this point. And I think there's a lot of preseason. I was wrong. There was a lot of preseason.
And don't forget, this Saturday you got the Broncos and the Cowboys meeting up.
Yeah, but they're not going to play their first string. Like, who's the best third string at the moment, who can actually make it on the roster.
If the Cowboys have a choice, they're running out of receivers.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are hurting. Yeah. I mean, you can't go 8-8 without losing 8, but the Cowboys are hurting right now for it. Is there any game besides Broncos and Dallas that y'all are looking forward to for preseason?
When is the Panthers' first preseason?
Panthers play Saturday against the Washington Commanders.
I can't imagine that Baker would play. I think they might be focused on not playing Matt Corral.
Yeah. What about?
I think we'll see Baker at some point. Probably not this game, at some point down the line.
Yeah, I think Baker's going to show up at some point. I don't know when, but it won't be preseason. I think they're just trying to figure out those last guys on the roster, who they're going to get, and then from there, we're going to see how everything.
I'd say I guess Falcons and Lions will be all right, because those Falcons and Lions are the two both are rebuilding teams, so they have a lot of young talent.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to see any other things. Seahawks, Steelers, maybe no, because that is what it is. With it, there's really not really other preseason games that really stick out at this point. Because again, all the interesting stuff is going to happen. I'm very disappointed that week 1 we will probably not get Baker versus Deshaun.
No,
I'm very disappointed on that.
But then again, the NFL is trying to, try and put a hammer down, and
they want him gone for the whole year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be gone the whole year. I think because they messed up on their ruling and stuff, and they don't blame the judge, but I think they were expecting a much harsher ruling. I think they will. I think we're going to get a what's it called? A full, but who knows? Who knows? We'll just have to see on it. We'll just have to see how it pans out at that point. Because the first game is it Labor Day weekend, or is it the week after or week before? I don't keep up with it. No, it is after it, because I remember that's fantasy draft. Yeah.
First NFL game is the 8th.
There we go. Yeah, because it's right after the OU game. You're right on that one. Your mic's working again. Yeah, what's your
It is.
So quickly, Andrew, because I know you mentioned about Hard Knocks and also the Bears. What's your thoughts on that, as well as any preseason game? Got 5 minutes. Go.
Well, just quick stuff. As far as the Bears and the Smith situation, I mean, they're not going to trade him until they're forced to, and the Bears have set, and it's going to be an ugly situation. The Bears have no talent; they can't really lose him, and by asking for a trade, their position is just weak at the moment. That's not saying someone won't pay for him. I mean, was a first-round pick a few years ago, and he has the talent, but it's kind of good luck there. As far as Hard Knocks, Lions are on there, and as much as Lions head coach Dan Campbell might not be able to coach, man, I would run through a wall for that guy.
Just because he's just that awesome?
He is. The man could be a great motivational speaker. I'd run into a brick wall with a helmet on for him.
There you go.
Yeah. Otherwise, not much. Otherwise, pretty basic. Just Hutchinson. They caught singing, and it was. It's going to be a good season with mostly Campbell. As far as preseason games, won't be able to tell a lot. The most interesting games to look at are what's going to happen with Seattle between Geno Smith and Drew Lock, and Baker seems to have pulled away a little bit more this week, and with Carolina, just going to have to see if that continues into preseason games. My guess is he'll end up being the starter over Darnold based on this week, but we'll see what happens. Rule seems to like him, and so I can imagine seeing Baker for at least a few games.
Honestly, he's lucky he got that big contract, because his ass should be on the hot seat.
Rule is on the hot seat. All of Carolina is on the hot seat. Like Baker was like the only reason they really trade for Baker was because they need as many options as possible at quarterback, and Baker, out of all their quarterbacks right now, has had the most success. So,
well, you definitely need to do something, because your best option at that point is Sam Darnold. He's ass.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Yeah, it's not pretty for the Panthers right now. Luckily, the NFC is kind of, I don't want to say NFC is so much weaker than the AFC.
Yeah.
You could probably whenever we get closer, I'll go into it. But you could pencil in a lot of NFL picks. So,
well, and keep in mind with Rule, like I think that's why he went for Baker because this is it. Like if he doesn't do it, he's gone. And it's not. I would say that's for a topic for another day. But
yeah, that'd be another.
What was Rule? Was he given a fair shake at Carolina? Was it just the situation he walked into? That's just a situation for another day, though.
I'll just touch on it really quick. If you don't draft quarterbacks and you don't have a quarterback, you gotta be a really special head coach to overcome that.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, he is definitely. It's a tough situation for him.
But we'll get more into that another week when we have some clarity on the race.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I'm not sure if people consider him on the hot seat, but I think he should be. Another coach I think should be on hot seat should be Frank Reich.
Yeah, I agree on that. But they may have a year or two left at this point.
I have big opinions on this. We'll go into it more in a few weeks.
Okay. Awesome. Swiggy, just one more question. Any preseason games that you're looking forward to this week?
I was looking at it. Not really. I don't watch it. I don't do much with preseason because it doesn't. I mean, other than watching for guys trying to make the team, it doesn't tell you that much. And I'd rather play games or watch baseball. So.
Exactly. Swiggy, Justin, Gavin, I want to thank y'all again for this week's live stream and joining me, as well as the entire chat who popped in, interacted with us, had a great time with y'all. Again, guys, be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so when we go live, you know to pop on in and just watch us. I hope we're making a great show for y'all. I really, really hope we're giving y'all some good content prior to actually the game starting. Once we hit that first week, we're going to dive right into like OU, like the entire time at that point, unless there's some noteworthy stuff we have to talk about, like something random out of a high school or NFL or something like that. Just to keep y'all in mind that during the regular season, I will also be doing uploads of pregame, postgame stuff, as well as just anything in mind, like if I have some in-game footage, as well as just any like random video. I am going to be posting a video about the Cale Gundy stuff, just my thoughts on it, probably either tomorrow or Friday. I wanted to give it a couple more days before we got really the full picture with it because I felt like we were missing a lot of information just to see other responses as well as to tie it into Venables press conference as well. Finally, guys, as a reminder, join Sean and I for our Sunday post games when that happens. Otherwise, right now we're just talking football and just reacting to the news around college football. We're getting closer to college football season, guys. We're only, like I said, 24 days till kickoff. Next week, we are going to bring again a person on who was a member of the Pride of Oklahoma, and he's going to give us some insight of what goes on with the Pride of Oklahoma, what happens during preseason, what happens during the regular season, just to kind of celebrate traditions and stuff as well, similar to what I do with the trivia stuff. So, again, guys, the final graphic I'll be putting up at the end, and I'll leave it up for a minute for it. OU's first game is against the UTEP Miners at home, September 2nd at 2:30 Central Standard Time on Fox Sports. So again, we're still a couple weeks off from it, but officially we're getting closer. We're closer than we almost are. Like the end of this week, guys, is going to be like we're closer to the kickoff than we were a couple weeks ago. So we're getting there. With all that said, guys, Boomer Sooner, only one Oklahoma, and I'll see all of y'all next Wednesday. Y'all have a good one and a good rest of your week.
Peace out.
Next week.
Later.